Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about fitting in and creating a healthy team. So let's get into it. So the question in question was pretty much, Frederick, well, it's a little bit of a story basically, but I am a manager and I'm dealing with a team member who sometimes misbehaves and isn't in line with the way that I want to do things. How should I deal with this individual? And the short answer is you need to understand that context dictates what is good behavior and what is bad behavior. Let me explain. So this is a tricky thing because my first thought when someone says to me that, oh, I am a leader or I'm a manager of some sort and I'm trying to get a person to behave in a certain way that is more in line with how I want to do things. That's the first thing that I think there is, that maybe you as the leader here, I'm not saying that this is the case, but maybe this is the problem right here. Because if you as a leader as a manager, you start off by stating that you want things to work in a certain way, then you miss the first, at least what I argue, rule of good management or good team leadership. And that is to look at the group and learn who each person within that group is, and figure out the dynamics in that group. In other words, the context that you find yourself in, and figure out based on that what's going to be the healthiest thing for that team. Let me explain. You may have watched shows like the classics, like say Band of Brothers or similar war shows, where you have a group of people who are under an enormous amount of pressure. And the thing about this is that they cultivate within this group different personalities. Now, some of them are politically incorrect, some of them are shy, some of them are, arrogant, etc., etc. But they find an equilibrium, or they find a way, a harmony of existence, if that makes sense, that works really well for that group. And if you try to disrupt that, you're actually going to damage the group, because usually what dictates what's okay in one situation and what's okay in another situation is the group, the majority. What is the majority opinion about behavior? What are the rules? If you can figure that out, you're going to fit in. And that goes for absolutely everything. As an example, we live in politically correct times. As an example, it's very normal these days that we put a lot of emphasis on matters that are very close to the heart of people who try to be social warriors or try to push certain political correct agendas, if you will. So it's very acceptable that you have to adjust if you have a brutish personality, or if you're a little bit, you're not on the train here with everybody else. Well, that's true, but there are also situations where the opposite is actually true. If you have an individual who is misbehaving or actually causing damage to the group, and that is the minority, or a person who has a lot of strong, say, racist opinions or things like that, well, then that person is the minority and actually is causing damage to the rest of the spirit of the group or the context. But if you take a person who is extremely politically correct and is trying to push, I don't know, female rights and understanding and etc., to pretty hard, and you take that person and you put them in another context, such as, let's say, I'm not gonna don't read too much into this, but let's say that you put them in a group of traditionally minded men who they don't really care about this. They're used to being able to make inappropriate jokes, or, well, sort of inappropriate jokes at least, and they have kind of their way of being. Well, if you put that person in that group, it doesn't really matter if that person is correct about, I don't know, women's rights or racism and so forth. Because if that person doesn't fit into that context, what happens is that it actually damages the group. Now as the manager, you now have to make that decision. You have to be able to tell if that person who's causing the disruption is helping or damaging the situation, because sometimes it is absolutely right that you need to push a person a little bit out of their comfort zone to make them into all that they can be. But sometimes you also have to make that way off and say, okay, this person isn't perfect, because there is no such thing, but this works. This actually does work. This may not be exactly what I wanted, but actually this is going to work really well, and the group is going to be stronger if I nourish this camaraderie or this way of being. So for you as the manager, that is the fundamental thing that you need to figure out. You need to figure out if that person that you're talking about is it your opinion or your idea of how you want the team to work? Is that the thing that is correct, or is that the thing that is actually going to cause a lot of disruption? And the only way for you to do this is to talk to people and have a pretty decent emotional intelligence level. You need to be able to read people, and you need to be able to feel social energy, if that makes sense. You need to understand if that person is a little bit politically incorrect sometimes and tries to get a laugh out of people. Is that humor actually appreciated? Is it just you feel like are you the one who needs to breach that, or who needs to adjust, if that makes sense? Because as the manager, you can absolutely take the standpoint that, all right, I'm just going to crush this person into their place so that I can do what I want. The question is, are you that certain that doing that is going to end with the group being stronger for it? And that's the thing. Is it about you, or is it about the team? So what I want you to take away from this is basically that if you're dealing with a person who isn't fitting into your vision for a team or something like that, or if you have a team dynamic which you want to shape into something, the first question you should really ask yourself is, how can I take this team? You can look at them as an engine. This is an engine. It doesn't matter if you want a better engine or a different engine. This is the engine that you have to work with. So the best question here is to ask, how can I tune this engine to work as well as humanly possible? Because if you start trying to crush people into place, or unless without really understanding if this is if it's a good thing for the team, you might actually damage the team dynamic so horribly that you actually damage the entire engine, if that makes sense. So it's really important that you understand that it's not about trying to force people into a certain way of behaving unless that behavior that they are using is actually inappropriate or it's damaging the team. I mean, being socially incorrect or being politically incorrect is not a bad thing. Stand-up comedians and other people use this sort of humor every single day to give a lot of laughs and enjoyment to a lot of people. So you have to be able to figure out, is the situation or this person damaging the team, or is the team actually enjoying this? Are the people actually happier, and do they actually grow stronger connections to each other through this process of humor and camaraderie, etc., etc.? That is the thing you need to figure out. In one situation you should act, in the other you should encourage that sort of behavior. Have a great day.